Good morning and welcome to the Author and Speaker Podcast. We're so excited this morning to have a world changer on with us. Many of you know her, you've seen her speak on stages, or you've read her books. Her most recent book has been published, and I would love to introduce this special guest. Sheila, where are you in the world today?
Hello, my friend. I am in Puerto Rico today.
In Puerto Rico. So we've done podcasts all over the world, and this is the very first Puerto Rico live podcast. So, you're in big demand, and with all of the activity and work and speaking that you do, you were just on Brett Stallcup's podcast about choices. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you, introduce yourself, and really about your books, and how did you come to release this latest book, and how did you start your first book? But go ahead and introduce yourself, because you can do a way better job than I can.
Thank you. So Sheila Fageron, I have been living in Dallas for about the last 24 years, still have a house there, go back and forth, and I'm in the real estate industry, started originally in radio and TV, and then was recruited to help start a pharmaceutical company, and then we built that and sold it, and then that's when I got into real estate about over 20 years ago. And so I am with a company called eXp Realty. I was one of the first agents in Dallas, helped build that up. I have about 15,000 agents in 20 countries currently in my organization. Wow. And I have a team operating out of Dallas and 13 now other cities, an expansion team. So that's what I do for a living.
Wow.
But what I really love to do is to help people read the Bible and learn about God, because I believe that that's where true fulfillment comes from. And so I started writing books about 9 years ago, something like that.
I love how multidimensional you are. I mean, I have written a lot of books for real estate brokers, coach brokerages, you name it, but I have never met anyone as multidimensional as you are, because you're hard to categorize and pinpoint in one box, because you do so many things. Currently, one of your books is a Bible study in Africa, of all places. Can you tell us a little bit about your work in Africa?
Sure. So I took my children. One of the things I've decided to do is not just go on vacation with my kids. I'm a single mom. I decided that we would go on vacation one place a year that they wanted to go, like fun, Disney or whatever. And then one time a year we would go somewhere to serve, so that way they would learn how blessed they are. And so we've been all over the world, and we were serving in Zambia on a mission trip and helping rebuild a school. And I just fell in love with the people and the lady running it, and I became just instant best friends. And so I started supporting that school and the children there. We still support them. That's been about 5 or 6 years. We have 130 children that we help have education and food every day, and school and things like that. So just fell in love with that. And so she's the one that approached me when she saw my newest book come out. She said, I would love to do something. And so the church is in Zambia, and I think she had like 14 other countries involved in the beginning, where we started doing a book club every other week, and we would do 2 chapters every other week. And then now that's moved into, now the church in Johannesburg wants to do it. They have 100 and something people, I guess, signed up already. That starts this Saturday. That starts tomorrow.
Imagine authors who are listening. Imagine having your very first book club on your book in Africa. That's goals right there, right? Because usually our authors will start out with a book club with maybe 3 or 4 friends, and then it grows from there. I mean, some authors have thousands of people on their, but some really always only have 5 or 6 people. And then if they expand to a call, they have more. But here you are, and you have a book club in Africa. That's really exciting, and I love your passion for really sharing God with others, specifically knowing your heart as I do. A lot of people, when you get on stage, they don't get to see the heart of Sheila, who really just wants to help people. Where does that come from? Because you had to have you have to relate to trauma and pain. Let's put it that way. I mean, I know you've been through trauma, but you have to be able to relate to that to help people. And a lot of authors do write out of pain and restoration. Where do you think that comes from, that genuine caring that you have for others?
I don't think I always have been this way, to be honest. I think it switched when, that's what this book is about, when I learned how loved I am by God. Because if you look even at the crazy world we live in today, they say it's the most narcissistic society in human history. And we are very self-focused as humans, as our society goes. And when I look back, it's like I can see throughout my life how even though I was going to church and reading the Bible and for decades, I still was very self-focused. I was focused on what I wanted and what I felt and what I wanted to accomplish or what I wanted to buy or whatever. And it just never clicked with me about the power of the Bible and the power of a relationship with God until one day it's like, wait a minute, why are you focused on you? If you would just start focusing on Him instead of you, and then learning about Him and learning who He really is and what He really wants and what He really means by all of this, that's what started it. And from there, it went on from not just me focusing on Him, but me being overwhelmed by the love that was then shown to me. It was like a whole new world opened up to me when I changed the focus from me to Him.
That's really an amazing step right there. For anyone who's listening, if you need to overcome anxiety, get out of depression, maybe you're going through something, take her advice as just this first simple step. A lot of times we're just frozen and locked up. We've all been there, and you tend to overanalyze, and you tend to say, oh gosh, I got to go get therapy or on medication, or just stop, pause, and take that first step that Sheila just gave all of us, to just focus external, outside of yourself, instead of, internal, I've got to work on myself. Focus on the love of God. And I want to say also, there's a link to her book in this podcast, and anywhere that we've posted this podcast, you'll see a link to all of her books. So please follow her, buy her books. Also, she's going to be on stages all over the world for the next decade. But Sheila, could you tell us just a little bit about your most recent speaking engagement? I know it was at a beautiful event called Build, which, if you look at that word build, how powerful is that one word? But it looked like hundreds upon hundreds of people in that audience cheering. And can you tell us more about that moment?
Yeah, I think the thing I was trying to get across is to help people understand that for you to accomplish anything in life, you have to understand why you want to do it. Like, why do I want a relationship with God? Why do I want that job? Why do I want to marry that person? What's really my true motivation and the deepest desire of my heart? And when you really figure out and learn to live in line with that, because my why is God and my boys, they are my whys. And so then everything else works around it, meaning my schedule shows that they are my why, between family time and vacations and special times on Zooms that we do as a family and all these things I have set in place in my schedule. Your schedule will reflect what you really care about. Let me say it that way. Like, if I look at your schedule, I can tell you who you are. I can tell what matters to you, because your schedule is going to reflect what you really care about and what you want to accomplish.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I think intentionality for me is key.
Mm-hmm.
My entire life, I never did any business meetings or calls before 11 a.m. because I always scheduled that time to work out with my kids when they were young. So from the ages
Mm-hmm.
of like 3 to, let's say,
Oh,
13, we went to the gym together, did, Bible
I love
study,
that.
reading, all of that. So my meetings didn't start until after 11. Now that they're grown, of course, they're in shape because of that. And I'm not, because I'm still working. I'm not, because I don't have them to work out with now. What a bad excuse, right?
I'll come work out with you.
I know. I gotta get my morning routine back. I'm gonna have to fly to Puerto Rico and walk on the beach.
Exactly.
Walk on the
Go to
beach.
Pilates with me.
Yes, yes. Well, you're so inspiring. We'd love to have you on again, even
Sure.
specifically, to talk about things such as real estate. I got into real estate as an investor, buying my first Airbnb and then another, and now 7 Airbnbs later. I've coached so many people into getting into real estate. And right now in my home, there's a young man who last night was up late. I always get them Aceable, tell them to get that app.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the Aceable app. There's a young woman in my house who just finished her last exam on Aceable. And while everybody else is naysaying the real estate market, I'm telling them, look, someone's always going to have to buy a house. If you're going to be an investor, you're going to buy properties, real estate, whether you do it as a career or not, as a side hustle, it's going to be an excellent, excellent thing for you to have your real estate license. Both of these two are gung-ho, ready to specialize in certain areas that they're passionate about. One ranches, the other houses, luxury homes. So what advice would you give a young entrepreneur or someone entering the real estate market who is just so uncertain of those next steps? Because he said to me last night, he's a college student and his mom died and he's not going to go to college now, and he's from Europe. And he said to me as he was studying for his real estate license, he said, I just wish I had it all now because it's so uncertain. I want to fast forward, you know. And what advice would you give someone in that position?
You change in the process, because a lot of people say that kind of stuff, like, I wish I was there, I wish I had gotten there, or whatever. But really, the difference in you happens in the journey along the way. So don't worry about getting there. Focus on the journey, focus on the process, because that's where you become who you're going to be able to get to that point.
That is so good. That is so good. Yeah, don't skip the process.
Mm-mm.
I think for really D drivers, I think we always want, if you're born a D and you're a driver, it's hard to enjoy the moment because we're planners. We're natural planners. We may feel like we enjoy the moment, but we don't stay in the moment long because we're goal oriented. And we're always driving, and that's really good advice, is not to miss the lessons of the moment either.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Because it's all about who you become from it, right? That's about, because the truth is there's lots of people with money who made it that are miserable, not happy, don't want to live, that kind of stuff. It's because they didn't focus on, who do I want to become through this? How do I want to turn out? Do I want to be somebody that's giving and loving and encouraging and inspiring? Do I just care about the money and what I can get and who I can take advantage of? So it's really, the process is the key. The process
Yeah.
is really the key.
Who do you want to become? That's fantastic. Well, Sheila, as always, you're amazing. And thank you so much for joining us. And we will post Sheila's book in the link. So go out, get to know her. And thank you so much. We're honored to have you. Have a wonderful, beautiful week.